thing. So he's well before Jesus, and a lot of our Western thinking comes through that, and a lot of our theology too. I mean, the scholasticism was very much Aristotelian. Thomas Aquinas. So he taught that there were 10 different qualities to all things, and 2 of them were substance and relationship. But he put relationship up the top. Oh, sorry, substance up the top. What am I talking about? Substance is that which is independent of all else and can stand on its own. So he said, that's the most important thing. So we had to prove that this God we had was substance. Our God is really substantial, far better than your God. Our God's got substance. We didn't want an ephemeral old relationship God.
How long did it take to get out of that?
We still haven't. We still haven't. I'll show you why in a minute. So that was the sort of thinking that went on. But when you look at it, relationship is far more important. This is what Jesus said. Son of the Father and yet one with the Father. For that time and area and that civilization and modes of consciousness, that was quite a statement. He is giving himself clear primacy to relationship. And this is Jesus, not as the Christ. This is the human Jesus, Son of the Father. As we are sons and daughters of the Father, we are a being. He was. And his personality, his person, was still that of the second person of Blessed Trinity. But without the connections and the thing, he had to grow into that. He had to find the face he had before he was born. And that statement came from Sunil Sunim, who is a Buddhist teacher, South Korean. Put that word to it, which I thought was, you got it, mate, right on. So, who you are is who you are in the Father, as he would put it. We are in God and God is in us, and that's where we find the truth of who we really are. Now, how do I get that going? All right, okay. Our meaning and our identity. Who am I in relation to God? And so in John 17, he uses a lot of words, but who am I to gainsay that? Jesus says to his Father, I have given them the glory you gave me, so that they may be one as we are one. Right down the end of his life, and he was coming more and more and more into the consciousness where his contemplative prayer had made him more and more one with God again. And he was reclaiming that face he had before he was born. I've given them the glory you gave me so that they may be one as we are one. Sacred unity. I in them and you in me, that they may be brought to perfection as one, that the world may know that you sent me and that you love them, even as you loved me. Boy, there's a lot in that. There's a lot in that. And again, there's that deep mystical hope and the joy in the truth of that we have. We can hold to no matter what's going on in our lives. No matter how disappointed we are in our growth. But we're not independent substance, nor is any part of creation. It all exists in radical relationship. Ecosystems, orbits, cycles, circulatory systems. I did have in the next 2 slides a bit about holonics and about some of the things, but I've cut those down. Don't have the time. The Western mind, this mere relationships looks like second or third best to being self-made and independent.
Didn't make one penny on his own.
Also the lawyer, John Cohen, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But it's the arrogance. Look, the unawareness of who the person is. Yeah. Yeah. No. Still in the first half of life, I can do this. I am the one. I am my own God. Whereas the second half of life, we come to the realization through experience that we need to give up the I and put ourselves in the hands of the living God, who is the only God, the only persons who will not use us, that we can trust. And that was the lesson of Mary when she opened herself completely to God, put absolutely no barrier in the way with her relationship with God. And immediately that happened, the Word became flesh. God waiting always to come to us, but waiting for our permission. The wonder of Mary who did that. Maybe nobody else in history would have ever done it. We don't know, but she did. So, extraordinary woman. So it does look second or third best to being self-made and being independent, but it's not. We need to learn to put ourselves in the hands of God, because then we just blossom. So from Augustine to Aquinas, this idea of substance changed its form. So in the 300s and the 400s, Augustine described Trinity as God in three substances, united as one. The first idea. Okay, he was using what he had and fairly advanced. Next century, God is one substance who has three, guess what, relationships. So the relationships coming into it more. So it changed quite a lot. And then you have to go for another 8 centuries. And then Aquinas comes along and then he says that God is one substance, but the relationships constitute the very nature of that substance. We have a subsistent relationship. I don't get what that means myself. It's very good philosophy, I'm sure. And Aquinas, of course, is probably the most intelligent person who ever lived. But he was a person of his time and he was basing it on the Aristotelian thing. So one substance, he was realizing these other ideas weren't quite there, and he did his best and he did pretty well. Relationships constitute the very nature of that connection, but not a substance. He was just that word got in the way. And now we're prepared to say that God is not, nor does God need to be, substance in the Aristotelian sense of something independent of all else. God is relationship itself.
Well, we've got that word consubstantial in the Nicene Creed now. Consubstantial.
Consubstantial.
Correlational.
And one of the reasons I'm showing the development of it, when people say, oh, this is tradition, well, it bloody well isn't. 330 something back there, 13, some like Council of Nicaea. But it's God is the relationship itself. Substandere, to stand under. And I think to myself, what does God stand under?
Sorry, what word says stand under?
Substandere, substance.
Oh.
Yeah. So, guess what?
They're making us say the Nicene Creed in our church. Because there's the word hell in it.
Consubstantial with the Father, yeah. So a lot of our talk about Trinity just has Jesus being a bit less than the Father. And They're not saying that. They're doing their best to say, no, Jesus, that Christ, the second person of Blessed Trinity, is not less than the Father. But you look at the pictures and you look at, except for that Rublev icon, you get so much of the Father being the boss, and he sends, and then the Trinity is sort of, the Spirit is sort of around somewhere. This sort of language, I think is quite wrong. For us men, yes, and women, and for our salvation, so the words that follow up to including and became man, all bow. Well, he did become man. And by the Holy Spirit was incarnate the Virgin Mary and became man. But then in both creeds that we use, he suffered, died under Pontius Pilate. They leave out his life. The thing that is most important about Jesus was his life. It's what the theologians call the great gap, the theological gap. His life completely left out. These were political documents trying to make sure that the Eastern Church did not separate from the Western Church. The emperor said, I've got troubles, and you're one of the biggest troubles because your people are starting to fight each other. You get a document that they can all believe, and you're not leaving this room until you get it. So they got it, but it left out his life. And so I think it needs rewriting. It needs rewriting in truth to say, who is this Jesus? And what's the relationships? And we haven't done it yet. And so people keep saying it's consubstantial with the Father, and it's just not helping. So salvation could be simply named as the readiness, the capacity, and the willingness to stay in relation with God. If we're in relation with God and we're staying in it, we are saved. Of course, the resurrection has already happened. It happened 2,000 years ago. We know how Jesus got himself to be resurrected. So why don't we do it? What he asked us to do. Come on, guys and gals, As long as you show up with some degree of vulnerability, because this is a mark of the beloved. Be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. Not a perfectionist, but a perfect lover. Someone who is vulnerable, who is open, who is mutual, who is responsive, gentle and kind, and who listens to the kardia, mind, heart, and gut of the other, and responds with that love of a mother for a newborn. Splagnic the mind. You just show up with some degree of that, and the Spirit says, right, I can work with you, and will. Self-sufficiency makes God experience impossible. We have to leave the ego. We need to form an ego. We need to have an idea of who we are, but also who we're not. The gifts we have and the gifts we don't have. Say, right now I'll work with this, and I'm going to work with you, God, in developing this. And I give a lot myself over to you, to listen to you. And I've still got to make the decisions, but I'm listening to you. It's why Jesus showed up in this world as helpless, as a baby, in truth. And had to do all of that growing that we have to do. And when we look back at it, how many of us want to go right back there? Even when we were better looking and more active and all that sort of stuff, and think, no, not if I've got to go through all of those lessons again. Well, he had to go through all these lessons. Okay, so what about this naked vulnerability? I'm going to let you influence me. I'm going to allow you to change me. The way of Jesus is an invitation to that Trinitarian way of living, loving, relating, on earth as it is in the Godhead. We keep having these words, but we don't let them penetrate. Let them penetrate. We're intrinsically like the Trinity, living in absolute relatedness, and we must allow ourselves to do this and to be aware of it. open our minds and hearts and the gut to all of this stuff. And when we choose to stand outside this flow of life and love, it's the deepest and most obvious meaning of sin. To miss the mark, diabolos, to push apart from others. We're choosing to stand outside that. And that's the real danger of us. That's when it gets to be so that we're turned completely away, well then hell is on the horizon, because we will send ourselves there, because we will not be with God. We will not love. Our choice is to be apart. And God is that relationship itself. Need to have the courage of that woman to step out of the crowd and just do what we can for people, even if it's momentary. And that flow of life is, of course, love. And it has many versions that we use in our society that are not really love. Sex is one. But of course, sex is important, but it's an expression, a possible expression of love. It's also a possible expression of lust. It's not love in itself. We cut ourselves off from that source of life, which is love, then we are killing ourselves, killing our immortal possibilities. We need to do this. I've come that you may have life and have it to the full. So let's say, right. And here's a mystic who said this. Wonder if you can guess or if you know. Greatly ought we to rejoice that God dwells in our soul. And more greatly ought we to rejoice that our soul dwells in God. Our soul is created to be God's dwelling place, and the dwelling of our soul is God. And I saw no difference between God and our substance. She's using, it's a she, she's using substance because she's in that time, but she meant being. I see no difference between God and our being, but as it were, all God. And still my understanding accepted that our being is in God. No, Julian of Norwich. Who said that? Give the man a prize. Someone get a biscuit from in there. Well done. Yes, it's yeah. So mystic. So she's growing into this understanding. She's listening to God. She's starting to get it. What a lady.
What was the first couple of words of that? Then I can just Google the rest of it. Sorry. It's okay.
I'll give it to you later. Okay. So even more significant than the qualities of the individual members of the Trinity is the flow between them. So at the Trinitarian level, God is a verb more than a noun. We Trinity, we love, we flow. God is a flow more than a substance. Oh yeah. God is an experience more than a deity sitting on a throne. Yeah. It's experience of God. So it's just letting us into the wonder of God, and we're not there, but we're starting to say, oh, there's something, wow, yeah, wonderful, and more than that. And I'm coming closer and closer as I choose to, and God permits me. That's in England. That's the Seven Bore. So this big tidal surge comes racing down the river, and all these people get on it. And it's sort of a club and a friendship. It's a relationship that they have, like surfers quite often in other places. We live naturally inside that flow of love if we do not resist it. Seven. We don't want to be him. Yeah. Live inside the flow of love. Live. Don't resist it. Don't resist it. Don't miss that particular boat.
Yeah.
Infinite love is planted within humans and all creation. We are capable of it. We are capable of it. We are of God. So we are capable of it. And all of creation, everything is attracted to everything. And even that's in our law of gravity, and isn't it? You know, the connection between the two. It's all there, built in. God built God's self into the universe and said, you want to know me? Pay attention. Pay attention to the big and the little. So life is attracted to life, and love is attracted to love, and God in you is attracted to God in everyone and everywhere else. And the Hindus got it. In everything. Created in the image of God, choosing the likeness. So Trinity is the soul of creation, is dwelling in everybody else. And the Hindus said, God in me sees and respects and loves the God in you. Namaste. It's not just our lot. There's a heck of a lot of wisdom and understanding in the other lots. I first taught this, it was in America, so that's why they're north and south, that's why they turn up. We're here.
It is somewhere.
So we allow the entire universe to become alive for us. We're living in an enchanted world. So with the greenies just pushing this and that and the other, importantly, but then fighting each other because we've got the thing that needs to be done first. No, we've got the thing. No, we've got the, oh, we hate you. That's a problem with that level of first tier consciousness. But when we go beyond that, then we do pay attention to what's happening, and we don't just say, well, we need to have jobs and money and whatever else. We need to have this earth, which was created, came out of the creation, and which is our mother, and which gave birth to us, and it needs to go on. We can't just assume that we are the end. We've been only going as Homo sapiens, not so sapiens, for 200,000 years. What about the next 2 million? Our sun has 4 billion years of life left in it. What about in 2 billion years' time? What could develop out of all of this, out of that whole plan of God, if we don't stop it now? So yeah, it's not a matter of hugging a tree. It's a matter of seeing the big picture of what's really we've been given, and how we have the gift of being able to bring it on, but we also means we can destroy it. Sleepers, wake. When we start dismissing things, we need to pull ourselves up and say, is that the right thing to do? Or are we being the monkeys? All whirling with the same beauty, the same radiance. Big Bang, the expression of God into time and space. What could we really call it beside that? The flaring forth, the great radiance. Indescribable, really. Okay, there's a galaxy. No galaxy has fewer than 100 billion stars, and ours has 400 billion. Sombrero has 800 billion. A nearby galaxy has 1 trillion stars. So we're a mid-range galaxy, and we're sort of a tiny star in one of the arms right out in the boonies. So the inner radiance of God started radiating in time and space at least that time ago. So long that it's just incomprehensible to me anyway. But we're the continuation of that radiance in our little way. It just helps us realize that God is much more than we can know or imagine. But at the same time, God is intimate. And that's not a contradiction in terms. We can wonder at that and hope in that and feel great joy in that. We can either allow it and let the Trinitarian flow through us, or we can deny it. And all of that is denying what? So when I listen to my brothers, good men as they are, denying it, I wish they wouldn't.
What helped me understand the connection with the rest of the universe? Once I read that, okay, so we have a little bit of iron, a minuscule amount of the universe. So apparently, like the stars of galaxies collide. This was
Yeah. And that's still happening. I mean, they're picking it up. The AR-17 collection of galaxies came from collisions of 5, one bursting through several. The violence there. So there's violence in the universe, but it's creative. Yeah, that's a good insight. There was only hydrogen and helium in the first Big Bang, and then gravity pulled them together, formed this balls of fire. There was about 700,000 years of complete darkness while gravity was doing this work and pulling the gases together, and so tightly they finally burst into flame. The heat that was there, because the flaring forth was a nuclear event, and that cooked all of these gases into all the elements needed for life. And so when they went supernova after about another 4 billion years, boom, ran out of fuel, collided in on themselves and burst out. They threw all that dust out. And we can see it now through the telescopes. New stars being formed by the tens of thousands every day. They come up blue on the screens. And the old red ones keep going. And so our star is a second generation star, and it had in it all that dust, which had all the other chemicals of which life was possible. So again, the potential that God put into that whole thing. So a lot of what we're saying can't be proved, made logical or rational. But remember, when we're proving, we're just using that brain of ours and not the rest. And there's more to us than that. We don't have to prove it. We just let it's the questions that we have, we stay with, we take into prayer, that enable us to start to get the understanding. Can only be known experientially. Experience again. And the mystery of love, when you surrender yourself to it, when you grant subjectivity or a blessed I, thou relation to every other thing, to a plant, to an animal, a single tree, the big blue sky, brother, sun, sister, moon, as St. Francis of Assisi put it. I think I've told some of you before that I really love the E. Cummings poem that starts off, I thank you, God, for most this amazing day. For the leaping greenly spirits of trees and the blue true dream of sky. For everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is, yes, positive. And he goes on from there. Love that poem. Just wakes me up for this mystery of love. Francis and Claire. So the contemplative mind refuses to objectify things. The calculating mind needs to objectify things. It sees similarity, likeness, symbolism, communion, connection, and meaning everywhere. It wonders, and it connects, and it loves. And a lot of joy comes out of it. Fully symbolic universe. We have sayings that a lot of people say, oh, it's only a symbol. It's only a metaphor. All right? This bread is my body. If you want an example of metaphor, You wouldn't find a better one. It's two impossible things, all made one. Symbolos make one. Symbol, sacrament, metaphor, syllogism, not syllogisms, they're what do you call them? Words gone out of my head. One. When three things are connected. Yeah.
Triangle.
No. It's a
What's symbiosis?
No. I'll think of it. Getting old, head's got a sieve. But they're the same. Symbol, sacrament, metaphor. So, and the opposite of symbol, of course, symbolos making one, diabolos pushing apart, sin. So metaphor is right at the central belief of our Christianity. This bread is my body. And that is true. It is real presence. It is not literal presence. That's another thing we've done throughout our history with that, just using the brain to have things literal. But real is another word. And that can be taken to prayer too. God, what's your real presence? What do you mean by that? Just take it in the labyrinth and just let it go and just walk. And you never know when you get that little idea that comes in your head and says, try this. That sounds good. Revelation happens all sorts of ways. So we can use whatever words we want, but with this vision, we'll live in a fully alive and congenial universe where we'll never be lonely again. So being alone is fine, being lonely not. We are what do we call it? Community animals, you know. The relationship is part of who we are because we are of God and God is relationship. So we're getting towards the end. Got a few minutes to go. So this is the last little bit, the practice of friendship. A fellow whose name was a little bit like mine, John O'Donoghue here. And he said that the Trinity reveals a God of relationship itself. And he was a young man when he died still, comparatively. He drew insights on friendship from the Celtic spirituality. And the Celtic spirituality I grew up in, and Christian Brothers, being an Irish order, connects so well with Franciscan theology. It's one of the reasons I went to the executive director of the Franciscan Retreat Center, the Prairie Woods Eco Spirituality Center in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I just found the two and the eco spirituality just came together. Three things coming on, wonderful Trinity. How might you grow and nurture soul friendships in your life? So just to make it practical, how do we do this? So the old Gaelic term for soul love is anam cara. Anam is the Gaelic word for soul and cara is the word for friend. Anam cara, soul friend. And the brothers in Ireland are actually doing this now. They're finding, they might have a spiritual director, but they're just finding one of the other brothers or someone else with whom they can have an intimate relationship, you know, and it's not sexual, it's not anything else. It is the person to person. So you could share your innermost self, your mind and your heart in complete trust. In complete trust. So that friendship is an act of recognition and belonging. You're joined in an ancient and eternal way with the friend of your soul, with your innermost being, with who you are in God. Remember that soul is where God dwells in you. And I've said before that sometimes the spirit within us has to run out the back door of our house and come around the front, knock and bash on the door. And when we maybe open it, spirit says, hey, you know, I live here. So the soul is that divine light that flows into you and into the other. It's the God love flow enabling us this connection. And that art of belonging awakened and fostered a deep, special companionship with some others. So that idea from John Cassian in his writings, The Conferences, again, way back, says this bond between friends is indissoluble. This, I say, is what is broken by no chances, what no interval of time or space can sever or destroy, and what even death itself cannot part. That oneness. A beautiful thing.
That may be antithesis of what you would have been taught in your division about particular friendships.
Oh, yes.
Avoid them.
Avoid all particular friendships. Yeah, just another example of how we get it wrong, really wrong, including, so forcing loneliness on people.
Is that why people
Okay.
say at times they want to be really known by?
That's it, yes.
So I was asking a question.